Hi, it's Nicole, and today I've got another layout from Simple Stories. This one is featuring the Simple Vintage Flower Shoppe collection, and I've got everything out here, and the first thing that I am grabbing are those dies. If you are new to my channel, I absolutely love die cutting. Paper is my favorite embellishment. If you have been around for a while, you know that this is in fact a true statement, and I tend to sometimes go over and above with die cutting. I'm doing a quick look through of all of the products and just kind of going through everything and getting like a good sense of what my options are. I am using a sketch today, however, it is not a free sketch, it is paid content, so I will put a link in the video description where you can find that sketch. And I am doing a little bit of a modification. Basically, I pulled it because I liked the photo arrangement and it had an area above the photos that I felt like would be a good place that I could swap out whatever was indicated on the sketch for those like really fun scallop border dies. I have been itching to use them since my box arrived. Like I knew exactly what I wanted to do with them. I just kind of needed to find a way to match some photos with this collection and then kind of come up with, like I said, a photo arrangement. And for me, sketches are such a genius tool for photo arrangement because it just takes a lot of the decision making out. I know that somebody else has already kind of come up with a really good balance of things, so that's one of the other reasons that I like sketches. To get started, I have pulled out, there's like a brown pattern paper with some fun multicolored tiny dots, and then this wood grain absolutely is going to get used. And here you can see I'm just kind of checking sizing on things. I want to do like the flower stand. I'm not going to put the wheels on and make it a cart. I'm going to put that down there, and then I'm going to do the scalloped border repeatedly across the top of my layout. Basically, it's going to give me a way to use a bunch of patterns, a bunch of colors in a small place. So I'm going to trim this down so it's got a wide border. I did consider using this one with the notebook and like the doodle daisies on it, mostly because that one kind of matched my photos a little bit better. Like if you see the balloons, there's like flower balloons and it just looks a little bit more like fun, less mature, I guess I would say. But I decided against it. I knew that if I cut it down, I was going to lose a lot of the little like doodle daisies. So I just went ahead and saved that for another project. I went directly to the coordinating basic cardstocks that match this line. It was at this point when I was like, you know what, I love this purple, and I'm going to go ahead and gut it so that I can bring my layout back in. I'm going to carefully peel up that wood grain that I've already attached and add the purple as another layer. I knew that I wanted purple to be the focus. My daughter is wearing a purple t-shirt and there's a lot of purple in the balloons. This was for a spring choir concert. And honestly, you don't see purple in a lot of collections. And so anytime I have an excuse to kind of use it, it's going to happen. Like all the purple things I could possibly use, I'm going to use. For these scallop borders, I love these things. These are so universal. I am running just this basic open scallop through a bunch of the papers. I've got the more solid kind of texture side, and then I am flipping it over and using the gingham side. With a pattern like a gingham, I do like to use a little bit of washi tape to tape my die down, just so that when it cuts, the actual pattern isn't like tilted. Sometimes when I run dies through my Big Shot, they can shift a little bit, so I like to use just some low tack tape like washi tape to kind of keep them in place. here are all of my beautiful borders. I did pick some patterns from the 6x8 pad. There was some really good B-sides in there with like that yellow tone-on-tone floral-y leaf kind of one. I think I pulled a green one from there. And then I also pulled in some of the Color Vibe cardstocks because those are solid on one side, but then the other side has like a really subtle polka dot pattern. So I used the polka dot pattern to kind of fill in so that I had the width that I needed above my photos, which I believe is about 9 inches. And I did kind of bring my ruler back in, mapped everything out. I'm going to cut these down to, I want to say these are about 3 inches. Basically, I didn't want to have all this bulk layered behind my photos, so I cut it so that they're just going to meet my photos. And I'm going to go through row by row and using a ruler, just try to keep things straight, mostly because with something like this where you've got those curved scallops and yes, the other 3 sides are straight, it's not something that I can like visually line up and get straight every single time. So I'm going to use a tool like a ruler just to kind of keep everything straight so that by the time I get from one side to the other, I haven't suddenly, started tilting one way or the other. And I just placed them to where the little valley of the scallop was just covering like the opening behind it. I did bring in, this was that same pattern I was talking about before, but it's the 6x8 version, and I did cut off all the flowers. I really liked that notebook print, and I'm going to use it and the pink portion of this printed paper. Like this pink paper has like this gorgeous like film reel and flowers in the corner. I really just loved that like watercolor pink that was going on the other side of the paper, so I just used the corner of it to cut a little mat. And again, my ruler is going to stay out because I feel like stuff like this where everything is going to butt up against each other and you're going to really see if something's not lined up very well. So I'm going to use my ruler as a straight edge to make sure I've got everything centered, make sure that my margins are somewhat equal, and that my rows of photos kind of line up. I did fill in with some pattern paper and some white cardstock mats, and then I'm gonna start embellishing. Well, before I start embellishing, I am going to pick out my title, which I pulled the memories from the foam sheet, and then I grabbed a phrase sticker that was also in purple, and I like that these are going to sort of start on those purple borders. I'm not doing like a complete tone on tone with my embellishments like I did with yesterday's video. I really just liked, like I said, if I can have an excuse to use purple, I'm going to. Double checking my spacing down here before I start die cutting all of that, and I knew instantly when I saw these borders that I wanted to stitch on them. Now, this die right here that I'm actually using to trace the scallops fits inside the basic scallop die. This one makes like little tiny texture holes, but it was sized perfectly for me to trace along the edge to get my stitching line. And then I'm going to go through my thread stash and pull out some colors that I think match pretty well. Went ahead and stitched along all of those. I absolutely love the texture and interest that brought to that top area. And then I'm going to start building my little flower stand down here. I did go ahead and I'm going to cut extra pieces of these little like framing edge piece things. I don't know what you would call these. But when I put the first ones down, I thought, it's a little flat. I would love it if it was just, had more oomph to it. So I cut some more, and I'm just going to do the stacked die cut technique and layer them up. This to me with super skinny stuff like this is just easier than adding like foam adhesive behind it. So I think I did, I want to say 3 layers on these. And I cut the flower stand from the Color Vibe cardstock as well as the buckets and all of the florals. And then my little awning is from the gingham pieces that that I cut all of those scallops from. I love any chance that I can build a scene, whether it's with pre-made stuff or with die cuts. So again, that's kind of why I was so excited when I saw these dies, because I knew that I could kind of build something that would not only match my photos and my layout, but then can be used over and over again. Like, I thought that this would be so cute to make like a bunch of different carts and different stands and have it look almost like a full, like, not farmer's market, flower market, I guess, like across the top of a layout, where you could have some that are taller, some that are shorter. Maybe one has like pink and purple flowers and one has more like greenery. Just so many different things that you could use with these. I think they're also sized really well to be on the front of a card. I kept the offcuts of the scallop pieces to do basically the same thing, just rotated on the front of a card. I think that would be really cute. Here I built 2 of those large floral clusters and put them on the like tabletop to my little flower stand here, and then I cut one in half and used that to kind of tuck behind my bucket and make it look like my little bucket is just kind of bursting at the seams with a bunch of florals. I then went back to the sticker sheet to grab those brown phrases, and then I grabbed a label from one of the die cut packs and printed some journaling information on that. These little phrases I'm going to put on foam tape and just kind of tuck in my flower stand. And then I felt like the top it just needed a little something. And a lot of times when I make my own embellishments with cardstock and stuff like that, I try to sprinkle that in other areas. It just kind of helps your like homemade embellishment area not feel like by itself. So I really like to mix in like the homemade stuff with the pre-made stuff, and to me that's just like a really good way to like merge the two things. So detail photos have been on the screen, and I'm gonna suggest a playlist here and another video that I think you may like. And if you haven't subscribed, I'd love for you to join me, and I'll catch you guys another video soon. Bye.